So up until this point, I have made a lot of Modern Warfare videos talking about individual weapons, kill streaks, and a bunch of other stuff. If you think about it, I probably made a video on it. But the thing is I haven't made a video talking about my opinion on the game. And the reason for that is because most of you probably haven't played the game yet, which means it's very difficult for you guys to already have an opinion on the game without actually playing it. That's why I wanted to give you all of the information I possibly had so you guys can make an informed decision of what you actually think about the game before I give my opinion on it. The important thing about this video is it's my opinion. This is what I think about the game. It's not what you have to think about the game. You may, in fact, think the exact opposite of me, and if that's the case, that's okay. Let me know down in the comments. This is a discussion. I want to hear what you guys have to say about the game. But the way I'm going to do this video is kind of like the good, the bad, and the ugly, but it's more along the lines of the great, the average, and the terrible, because I think there's really amazing things in this game. I think there's things that you should just know about. Those are the average, and there's some pretty bad things in this game, and I think they probably will be fixed by the time the game's launched, but also at the same time, maybe they won't, and maybe that's why I'm talking about them, is so the developers can really hop on that and try to fix those terrible things. So I'm going to start out with the great things, because to me, this is what really makes me excited about the game, is these really great features that they have implemented, and then from there go from great to the worst, and we'll go from there. So I've talked about this before, but I think the best thing that they have added so far into Modern Warfare is the Gunsmith and the new Create a Class mode. What this does is it allows you to put up to 5 attachments on every single weapon that you use, and a secondary weapon is going to have 30 attachments available for it, all the way up to your primary weapons that are going to have up to 60 attachments and perks available for the individual weapons. And what this allows you to do is really customize how you want to play with an individual weapon. If you're using an AK-47, you can play with it as an AK-47, an AK-74U, or something more like an LMG, like an RPD. That's incredible. It makes one weapon into several different feeling weapons. On top of that, most of the weapons in the game you can either use as fully automatic or single fire or semi-automatic. Once again, just adds that extra layer of depth that's really going to make the good players at this game that much better, because it's going to take that knowledge of knowing what type of class to use, what type of attachments to use to be the best possible player. And I definitely found that there were certain attachments in the Gunsmith that actually made your weapon worse. It made the gun you're using way worse, and you should just not use those attachments. And I think that's going to be great for me to make videos for you guys for best class setups and gun guides and that kind of stuff, and I'm really excited for that. But at the same time, it once again adds that extra skill layer. Now, the second thing is kill streaks. I think they are great. There's one problem with them that we're going to get to in the terrible, but for now, we're going to focus on the positive. So they have switched from score streaks to kill streaks, which a lot of people don't like, because you're now not going to get points towards your kill streaks for playing the objective. I get that. I get that that can be frustrating, but what it does allow is it's a lot easier to get these kill streaks. So instead of 1,700 points to get something like an AC-130 or a gunship, it is now going to only be, I can't remember whether it was 11 or 12 kills, but something very, very easy to do in my opinion. And I like that. I like that those difficult kill streaks to get are now not that hard, and on top of that, they're good. Because one problem I've had, especially with Black Ops games, yes, they have a lot of kill streaks or score streaks, but they're not always good. It seems like a lot of the kill streaks within Modern Warfare are actually good and going to get you lots of kills, whether it's a Harrier or VTOL ship, whether it's a gunship, whether it's a chopper gunner, whether it's a Juggernaut suit. They're actually good and rewarding kill streaks, and I absolutely love to see that. After this, we have operators. So operators is a thing that is basically replacing specialist characters. Actually, I made a video on Saturday talking about this, but they no longer have abilities stranglehold it around a character. I don't think that makes sense. But what I mean is, if you choose D-Day as a character, there's no specific ability you have to use as D-Day. So those are separated out into field upgrades, which are a completely different thing. I like that you can look however you want and play your own style. You aren't cornered into having to play a specific way with a specific character. You can play your way with whatever character you want. And I think that's awesome. It makes customization that much more important, which I'm excited and scared to see what they do with microtransactions in this game. I always have hopes that they're not going to go overboard with them, but this is Activision. We probably know they are, and we're going to get there with the terrible, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. After this, 2v2 gunfight. This game mode, I have never been so excited to play a game. Even when Blackout came out, and they were announced that they were doing a Call of Duty Battle Royale, I have never been so excited for a game mode to come out, because the excitement you get in a 2v2 gunfight when a game's tied 5-5 and you're going into that 6th round and you and your teammate are going into it and your teammate goes down and you have to clutch up in a 2v1 situation. There has not been excitement like that since I've played like competitive search and destroy, and I am so excited to play more gunfight. I just can't say how awesome that mode is. And on top of that, one thing a lot of people don't talk about is in the game, there's also tournaments for these as well, built into the game. So you and your buddy can go in, queue up, hop into a 2v2 gunfight tournament, and it immediately puts you into a 16 bracket tournament, and you're competing against 16 other teams to be the best in that tournament in gunfight. I think that's awesome. Super excited for that. The last two, no season pass and crossplay. So I'm sure you've heard a lot of people talk about this. There's no season pass, which means everyone who plays the game is going to have the same maps. There's no longer going to be paywalls like that. That's amazing to see. I wish they would have done this years ago for Call of Duty, because honestly, it makes a huge difference. That's great to see. It does once again worry me about microtransactions and stuff like that, but once again, we'll get to that. And then crossplay. We kind of saw a brief overview of how this works. So if you're playing on PlayStation, you can play with PC players, you can play with Xbox players. Apparently, it is going to be limited, so if you're playing with mouse and keyboard, you're going to be playing against other mouse and keyboard players. If you're playing with a controller, you play against other controller players. That's simple. But the one thing that I did see that a lot of people didn't is there's also an Activision account. Kind of how people who play Fortnite have their Epic account. That's how you play crossplay. So for example, on my PlayStation, I log into my Activision account, and then I add my friend who's playing on Xbox on their Activision account, and then I can invite them and play with them via that. It's very similar to the way Fortnite does it. So those are all the great things. I think everything I have listed so far is the bee's knees, the cat's meow, and I am so excited for those things. Moving on, this is the average things. These are things that I don't think are necessarily good or bad. They're just changes, and I like to see that, because if every Call of Duty game was exactly the same, it'd get very boring. So the first thing is projectile weapons. They are no longer hit scan. So every multiplayer game, or most multiplayer games in Call of Duty up until this point, have been hit scan weapons. In other words, when you pull that trigger, it immediately registers at where you're shooting it, and if there's someone in that trajectory, it is going to hit them. Projectile weapons work a little bit differently. They are literally a projectile. They take time to travel through the air and hit their target. That is what weapons are like in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. On top of that, it affects the bullet penetration and the bullet velocity depending on how far that bullet is going. Which means over range, you may not be able to shoot through a surface if you're too far away. If you're right beside it, you might be able to, but if you're far away from it, you won't be able to. And I like that. It adds a level of realism and a level of challenge, knowing your maps, knowing your ranges, knowing your bullet penetration. I really do like that. But it adds a little bit of a weird feel. If you have a weapon that has a little bit slower of a bullet velocity, it may feel like you should be hitting the person, but you're not. Now, the good side of this is Infinity Ward does a really good job, probably the best studio at their bullet registration. So if there's any studio that can make these projectile weapons actually work, I think it's Infinity Ward. So, like I said, it's average. I'm not sold good. I'm not sold bad on it yet. It's just the way it is in this game. After this, we got map design. So they've really changed up the way that they are designing maps in this game. And it's good and it's bad. It's more like Call of Duty 4 maps. So if you've ever played Call of Duty 4, maps aren't linear. A perfect example of this is Bog. Bog is a map where one side of the map you have buildings and you can't really snipe through it. The other side of the map is completely wide open. It's a non-linear map. It's not even on either side. Another good example of this is something like District, where it's just kind of like a square with buildings everywhere, completely cluttered. There is no rhyme or reason or lanes to the way it is. That's kind of similar to the way the maps are going to work in this game. It's very clear. It's also going to depend very heavily on levels. So if you're on the second floor of a building that only has 1 or 2 entrances, you're in a power position. You're going to be able to pick off enemies, and it's going to be hard for them to get to you. This is old school Call of Duty. This is the way that they did things in Call of Duty 4, and the way the developers put it is, back in the day, Team Deathmatch really there's no objective, it's just kill people. But if you add these power positions, players try to take them, and it adds a micro objective into Team Deathmatch. And I completely agree with that. If you go back and play those older Call of Duties, I think Modern Warfare 2 is even a better example in my opinion. No one's really talking about this, but there was always those positions where people would sit in and try to get nukes and put down claymores. Those were the power positions. Meanwhile, throughout the rest of the game, everyone's trying to take that position from them. And not that that's good or bad, it's just different than what we've seen in the past, I would say 5 to 8 Call of Duty games. So I'm excited to see how that plays too. The next one I'm a little bit more on the fence with. This one kind of leans more towards the bad than the good, but it could be good. And that's the realistic / night mode. So what you're seeing on screen here, we are playing on the cave map. I can't remember. I think it's Azure Caves or something like that. And you're playing at night, and if you don't use your night vision, there's very few areas around the map where you can actually see. On top of that, it's a one-shot headshot kill. There's no hit markers. There's no mini-maps. It's realistic, or as close to hardcore as you can get without playing hardcore. So if you shoot them in the body, it takes the normal amount of bullets to kill them. Now, I don't mind this. I really don't, and I think it's fun as a little bit of a change-up. The problem is if they implement it too much in the regular mode. So, for example, if I'm playing in the Team Deathmatch playlist, and every second game is a night mode or on this map, and I need to be using night vision, can't aim down sights, I'm not really going to like it. The other problem I have with this is there's no hit markers. Maybe I'm in the minority of this. Maybe I'm the only one that doesn't like this. But half of the time when I was shooting at someone, I couldn't tell whether I killed them, whether they started laying prone, whether someone else killed them. I didn't know because there was no feedback as to whether I killed that person or not. Because I didn't get a hit marker, I didn't get a plus 100, I can't see a kill feed. So there's no way for me to actually tell if that person was hit by my bullets or dead. The way I would fix this is don't add the HUD in. People don't want that in this type of mode. Just add hit markers. Just hit markers. That's it. All of a sudden I know if I'm hitting the person, and it gives me the red hit marker when I actually kill them. Boom. Problem solved. That's how I'd fix that. That's just me, though. If you disagree, like I said, let me know down in the comments. After this is an interesting one. Movement. Movement is a little bit slower in this game. You can't bunny hop around like you can in Black Ops 4, which I think a lot of people are really going to like. You can still jump shot. You can still drop shot. Those are all still options. There's definitely still going to be a competitive advantage to doing those. At the same time, I had problems with mantling to certain things. For example, I run up to a truck and try to hop up on the edge of the truck, and I couldn't mantle to it. And they said that that was going to be an integral part in the game, being able to mantle to certain things, get into these power positions, jump through windows, and there was a lot of situations where I simply just couldn't do it. So whether or not they're going to fix that, make the mantling a little bit better, I would hope so, but it is a bit slower of a movement than something like we see in Black Ops 4, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing, and if the map design is good, we shouldn't have to worry about that. The last one is an interesting one, and I haven't really heard many people talk about this. It's leveling through all game modes. So your level in multiplayer is going to be the same as your level in single player, which is going to be the same as your level in Spec Ops or whatever the hell they're introducing for that. Which means you can level yourself up to Master Prestige in multiplayer without ever playing multiplayer. And I think this is okay if, one, there isn't a way to just boost to the top level like instantly with some exploit, which I'm guessing someone is going to find in either single player or Spec Ops. I'm guessing that. The second thing is I think there should be individually sectioned off things that you can get in each individual mode. So for example, dark matter. There should be a dark matter that you can only get in multiplayer. There should be individual challenges that you can only get in each mode. That would make me want to play that mode as opposed to just leveling up myself to max level through playing a campaign mission over and over again. Whereas if I'm playing multiplayer, I can get these camos for my weapons. I can get these unlocks for the individual operators. Stuff like that. So I think it can be done right. It just worries me that it's going to take any sort of pride or achievement from actually hitting top level in multiplayer. Maybe that's just me, like I said before, but you can let me know what you think down in the comments. Moving on to the bad. So this is where a lot of people may disagree with me, and this is, once again, my opinion. This is what I think about the game, and if you do disagree with me, feel free to let me know. I want to hear what you guys have to say. This is my thoughts. So the one I'm not going to go into a huge amount of depth with is the minimap. It's gone. It's not there. I like having it there. A lot of people, even after I said it in my comments, are like, oh, you just like running after the red dots. No, I like knowing where my team is spawning. I like seeing the green arrows, where they're looking, where I know I don't have to look because I know where they're looking. That's gone with the minimap. Now, the one thing that they did say is the build that we played was bugged. We are supposed to be able to see our teammates like we have Team Link from Call of Duty Black Ops 4. That is good, but it's not great. Yes, you'll be able to see your teammates through walls, but with Team Link, I won't be able to see what's going on behind me like I could with a minimap. If I look at a minimap and I see 3 teammates behind me, I know I probably don't have to watch my back. If I'm using Team Link, I can see where my teammates are in front of me, but I don't know what's going on behind me. I literally have to stop, turn around, see what's going on behind me, and then I can figure it out. So this is a good compromise, and I'm going to have to wait to see what it actually plays like with this version, because it wasn't there when we played it. And if it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's not. It's something we're going to see in the beta, so really there's nothing else I can say until I play the beta. That's the other thing. I can't remember who tweeted it, whether it was Joe Seacott or Joel, but one of them said that we're going to leave the build the way it is as of right now, and once people play it in the beta, they can make their own decision. I am so glad that they said that, because that's what it's all about. It's about what people want in the gameplay, and I'm glad that they said they're open to change it if everyone hates it. They want people to like their... I'm very happy that they did that. Moving on, kill streaks. So how can kill streaks be in the great part of the list and the terrible all at once? So the streaks are great, but they have announced that you can't wrap streaks. So what I mean by that, say for example, I'm using UAV, counter UAV, and a Predator missile for my 5 kills. I get to the 5 kills in my life, and all of a sudden, I can't go and earn that UAV and counter UAV until I die. The kill streaks don't wrap around, and you can't earn them multiple times in one life. Now, I don't understand this, because when we were there, the developers specifically said, we want to design this game so that your life matters. You want to stay alive as long as possible. Hence, why they switched to kill streaks. But if they don't have the kill streaks wrap, that completely takes away from the point that they're saying. All of a sudden, after those 5 kills, I want to die so that I can get my kill streaks again. If my life really mattered, I would be able to get those kill streaks as much as I wanted within multiplayer, right? That's what would make your life matter, not just having to die to get more kill streak. That's just me, and it's a little bit frustrating because I like being able to run UAV, advanced UAV, and counter UAV, and then trying to go for nukes and stuff like that, but apparently that's not going to be possible in this game. Maybe something they'll fix, but we'll have to wait and see. After that, this is not really a bad thing, but specialist streaks. So there's no specialist streaks in the game. This is something that Infinity Ward has done many times in the past, where when you get kills, you get more perks, and by the time you get like 7 to 8 kills, you are a god tier soldier with every single perk in the game. I'm hoping they add this. It's very possible that they add this. Remember, this is an alpha build of the game you're watching here, so it is very possible that by the beta or even the actual launch of the game that it is in there. Last one, actually this is the second last one. This one is a controversial one, to say the least, because I think the internet wants to like this, but it kind of sucked when we played it. And that's the 20v20 mode. And I don't think it's necessarily the 20v20 mode that sucked. It was individual mechanics within that build that we played. So first of all, there was no minimap. That makes 20v20 mode very confusing and very hard to play. On top of that, the map that we played sucked. I'm sorry, Infinity Ward, if you're watching this. I don't mean to rag on your game this hard. Normally, I'm trying to be polite about this kind of thing. But that map we played on was fucking garbage. The way it was designed is there was a building in the middle, and there was walls going all the way around it with 4 entrances on each side and in the middle. The problem with that is I would spawn in at the back, and either one, I had to run through the entrance dead in front of me that someone was going to be watching, or I had to run down an open alleyway for, I'm not over-exaggerating when I say 30 seconds to 45 seconds, to get through the side, which someone was also probably watching. The problem with it is I wasn't having enough time in gunfights. All of my time was running from a spawn to where you get in a fight. Now, there was the option to drive around an ATV, but the controls on the ATV were like driving a car with no steering wheel. It was just brutal. There are several ways to make this better. First of all, I think if the map that we played on was a 50v50 map, it would play a lot better. Second of all, having the team link would help. Third thing is adding more entrances to that middle area on that map. You have to do, or that map just doesn't work. There's too many walls that you can't mantle over. That's the other thing, is if that wall that was blocking off the entire middle area, if I could mantle over certain sections of it, it would be okay. Then I could get into the middle, get into a power position, and actually fight someone. But you couldn't. You couldn't mantle over the wall at all. Anyway, I digress. I did not like the 20v20 mode. It can be fixed, and I think a lot of people want it to be a god tier mode because they want it to basically kill Battlefield. Even I'm watching Battlefield YouTubers be like, this could be it for Battlefield. So I hope that they figure it out. I hope that the maps are better. I hope that they figure out how to design an ATV to be able to drive, because that one we played, just copy the system from Blackout. You already have a great system in Call of Duty for an ATV. Just copy that one. Anyway, that's beside the point. The last thing is stopping power. This is one I feel very strongly about, and a lot of other people might. One of the field upgrades is stopping power. It makes it so that your weapon has one less bullet to kill while you have that magazine of stopping power mags in your gun. All of the other field upgrades I feel are relatively reasonable, and this one is just by far the best one, and I bet you a month into the game's life cycle, everyone will just be using stopping power rounds. So, one of two things: I would nerf the hell out of it to the point where it's almost pointless to use it, or I just remove it and replace it with another ability. If you're looking for another ability that you could use, is instead of just having stopping power, make it so that they have the corrosive rounds, or whatever they're called, that you can attach to some weapons, where it stops the enemy from healing for a certain amount of time. That way it doesn't do more damage, it just affects their healing. I think that would be a lot more balanced than stopping power currently is. But that's my opinion. That is the truth of Call of Duty Modern Warfare. There's a lot of really fucking good things, like Gunsmith, like the Killstreaks. There's certain things that I think if they fix those, this Call of Duty has a lot of potential. Like a lot. I said that with Black Ops 4 too, and I still believe that for the first 1 to 2 months of Black Ops 4, they were killing it. And then just the support wasn't there, they didn't listen to what people actually wanted, and it just fell off a cliff. I really do think, and it sounds like Infinity Ward is really listening. When we were there, they wanted to hear what we had to say. They wanted the feedback because they want to make this game as good as they possibly can. So my fingers are crossed. Infinity Ward, just listen to the community. And you're right. Infinity Ward is more right than I am here. I'm giving you my opinion, but I want you guys to make up your own opinion on this game. So wait till the beta comes out on September 12th. Wait to build your own opinion on this thing, like the developers of the game said, which made me so happy that they said that. And then come that day, you can be like, I like no minimap. I hate no minimap. I like 20v20. 20v20 is too big of a map. I want you guys to have your own opinion, but this is my opinion, and a lot of people were asking for it, so there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, I would love it if you could hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, like what you see here, make sure to say subscribe, hit notifications. It's the best way to stay up to date on all my videos. And as always, I want to hear what you guys have to say, so let me know what you think down in the comments. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, guys, peace out.
Listen.